I think real estate is quite simple when you break it down. People need to be made aware of who you are, and the activities around that are literally...
What's the script when you knock on a door?
I would always, and whether it was a cold call or not, I'd sort of be like, look, I don't want to have a salesy script. Sort of try and create a conversation rather than more or less going in being like, hey, do you want to sell? Just having a down-to-earth conversation with them would lead into what their plans might be anyway.
Over $3 million in GCI, over 180 deals in the past 12 months. What's the secret sauce to your success?
I don't honestly think there's a secret sauce. It's pretty simple. Just...
Agents, welcome to the Get Keen podcast, your number one destination for learning how to get the most out of your real estate career. I'm Dan Lee, founder of Plum Property, one of Queensland's largest independent real estate offices, and Plum Partners, where we've helped dozens of agents create, run and grow their very own agencies. On Get Keen, I chat to high-performing agents, principals, and agency owners, so you have the tools, strategies, and insights to grow your business and live the best life for yourself and your family. Now let's get keen. Ladies and gents, thank you for joining and welcome to another episode of Get Keen, baby, yeah! You wouldn't believe who I have on the show today. This is one of my most exciting guests who is going to deliver so much value. If you're listening to this, you're lucky. I got in the house Rebecca Cuderman, and before I let her speak, I just want to let you know why she's here. Rebecca is a remarkable agent for so many reasons. Number one, she's female, and it's in a male-dominated industry. You know, it's great to see females absolutely hitting their stride. But number two, one of the youngest in the Ray White group and in real estate in general to hit the types of figures that Rebecca and her team have been able to do. Just to show you how remarkable Rebecca and her team are. In the past year, they have together sold 180 properties, which if you're in real estate, you know how much work that is. Top 1% of Ray White. Ray White Chairman's Elite, which, if I'm right, is the highest ranking of the scale in sort of the award system of the Ray White Group, and is part of the Ray White AKG Group, which is a conglomerate of 5 offices. Rebecca works out of the Marsden office, and it is the highest performing agent amongst a vast range of experienced agents. And here's the real kicker. She's only just turned 25. Is that right? Did I get that right? Sorry to mention your age.
That's so fine. I'm technically 26 at the end of the week, so
20,
not quite.
Okay,
but
you're still 25.
Still 25 for now.
But that is just so awesome. I've always said that if an agent can do over 100 deals in a year, they've really figured it out, right? You have figured out real estate if you can do over 100. And you guys sitting at 180, I actually haven't met that many agents that have pulled off numbers like that. And to be as young as you are, I remember being 25 in real estate doing about 30 deals and I thought I was the man. Now I look at you and just think, oh my God, I was just nothing. I was a piece of sand on the beach. That's what I was. Rebecca, I need to know, and the people need to know more about you and what makes you so successful and how have you done this? Like you're obviously very competitive. Your work ethic must be like second to none. Can we start with a bit of history just about you and where you came from, what you did before real estate and how old you were when you got into it?
Yeah, so I got into real estate very young. I pretty much had left school, didn't quite remember applying for full-time jobs, but I obviously had secured something within reception in a real estate company up north, which is where I was from, and pretty much never left. It was like the same week that I had to accept uni, and I didn't really want to go to uni. So I was like, well, I'll give this a shot. You know, it's a full-time career. If I don't like it, I can always go to uni next year. So I sort of fell into it, never really expected to be in sales or anything like that. It was just a job. And the office that I happened to work in at the time was so chaotic that I got to sort of see a bit of everything. And then I never really left. I just sort of progressed the career from there.
Okay, awesome. And so when you first got into it, were you a sales associate or did you just get straight into sales?
No, so I went from reception to sort of property management assistant here and there. I did a bit of office administration. I moved down south. That's how I got to Logan. And I was sort of like the office admin for a smaller company at the time. Did a bit of everything, like assistant work to even the sales agents. And then from there moved over to becoming an associate once I was like licensed, really.
So when did you start sales? Like, were you underneath someone to begin with?
Yes, yeah. I was working at an elder hooker at the time. I would have just turned 18 and was very much like the bare basic tasks and duties, like letterbox drops, attending open homes, not really allowed to say anything. It was just literally trying to become a sponge to hear what exactly an agent does.
Yeah.
And then I moved as time progressed. I think I was there for maybe a year and a half, closer to 2 years in that associate role, and became more or less their buyer's manager. So she would list the properties and then I would just transact them. So I still didn't quite understand what an appraisal and listing pitch was, but for the transactional piece, I understood that really, really well. So she wouldn't really handle negotiations. I would assist in that department.
That's really smart that you actually started like that and did a few years in different roles of real estate, because I feel like it's the reason why a lot of young people fail is they just get thrown into the deep end in sales and it's all too much, and they don't know how the process of getting a lead to turn into a listing works.
100%.
And then, even though they are quite capable and good, have good personalities, they don't make it because they don't have that prior training. So that was a good step for you.
100%. The property management piece was probably the most important because I deal in such a heavy investment market. Like, not knowing what the process is from leasing and the legalities around it, it wouldn't have allowed me to have like legitimate and good conversations with our investors looking to list.
Yeah,
because
right.
I would not have understood the legislation around selling tenanted properties, which is a heavy, heavy part of my business.
Sure. So when did you go out on your own? What year was that?
When RV opened, so it'd be coming up to 7 years now in January.
Yeah.
Just shy of 7.
Okay, cool. And I see that you were the rising star of 2019 in Australia for Ray White.
Yes.
Nominated.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you got pipped at the post. I think you should have won. It's obvious you should have won. But can you tell us, like, in that first part of real estate, like, because you've done this in a pretty short time, to get where you are, like, a lot of agents would take 10 to 15 years to get to what you've done in about 6. What did you focus on? And I'm guessing you started all on your own, so it was just you?
No, it was just me technically on paper, but Arvi had just opened the business, so I tried to leverage as much as I could off of his business. So he attended all of my listing presentations, all of my appraisals for probably just shy of a year and a half sort of thing. So I leveraged him a lot.
Okay. And what activities did you focus on in that first 12 months where you were just, trying to
get my foot in the door?
Yeah.
And it hasn't changed, but like literally the bare basics, door knocks, letterbox drops, investor mail outs was quite heavy because we could not get in front of a lot of clients in our area. It's probably just shy of 80% investor owned. And cold calls. Like, my day was literally filtered around cold calling.
How much of the door knocking did you do?
Probably only 20% of my business was door knocking.
But that's still a fair bit.
Still,
so how many hours a week would you door knock?
It might be like an hour of an afternoon to really target the on the markets.
Okay. And what would you do?
Well, primarily on the markets. Marsden was probably a 6-month sale, like days on market. So it was quite a lengthy time to sell. So it was quite easy to at least have that conversation to be like, how's it going? Sort of just show my face.
Yeah. What's the script when you knock on a door? There's so many agents that just don't do it because they're just petrified of knocking on the door and having someone come to the door and go, what are you doing?
I would always, and whether it was a cold call or not, I'd sort of be like, look, I don't want to have a salesy script. Like, I'd literally stop and be like, I'm not trying to sell you anything. Like, I just want to call, like, stop in, introduce myself, essentially say hi. I am sort of relatively new to the area, but I've been in sales really like a long time. Just wanted to ask, like, how do you find Marsden? Sort of try and create a conversation rather than more or less going in being like, hey, do you want to sell? Because more often than not, just having a down-to-earth conversation with them would lead into what their plans might be anyways.
Sure.
And you'd sort of be able to surface that rather than just getting a door slammed in their face. It's sort of like, hey, I was chatting to the neighbour, wanted to catch up with you whilst I'm here. Like, what can I do to assist? Like, it really doesn't need to be anything crazy.
Yeah, I think a lot of agents overthink it. So your reason would be maybe you had a property on the market in the street?
Either on the market or just met with one of the neighbours, chatting about one of the ones that had just sold recently, whether it was mine or not, like just coming across confident would get you through the door 9 out of 10
Mm-hmm.
times in comparison to going in being like, oh my God, hi, like reading off a script.
Yeah.
Like they just don't, no one wants to deal with that.
Yeah, sure. And then you would try and get an appraisal, but really you're just trying to build a connection.
100%. Yeah.
Now
just
they
sort
know
of show my
who
face.
Rebecca Cuderman is. They'll see your sign and they'll see it sell. And then if they're thinking of selling, it's like, why not reach out to this girl that we've just got to know?
Yeah.
And we've invited her in our home. We feel comfortable with her right now. It's such an important thing that it really is I think the
Most
bare bones
simple.
of why most agents fail is because in the beginning they spend all their time on the computer, looking at realestate.com and trying to become the master of the
market.
information on the market. And then that's like,
The market
if you
doesn't
did
know
everything else but that, you'd probably be successful.
Yeah,
It's not that
100%.
important to do that stuff,
Yeah. It's good to have the knowledge around like the sales, but ultimately if those sellers in your market don't know you, why on earth would it matter in the first place?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So cold calls, you're deep in that because I love cold
Yeah.
calls.
That was-
I built my whole business on cold calls.
that is our business.
Yeah.
Like up until more recently, the market's changed where it's become more owner occupied. But I would have to cold call, then follow them up with, even if they told me to F off essentially, like they'd receive then a letter being like, thanks for your time, here's my business card. And it's a magnet. Like they're then having it whacked on their fridge if they keep it, or at least just seeing my face to be like, oh yeah, I did speak to that lady on the phone. Like again, mine to like my name being then tied together with a photo to sort of resemble who I am. Same thing if it was a door knock, like they'd then get a letterbox drop later on. They'd start to remember essentially who you were.
Yeah.
But yeah, cold calls was primarily my business, along with mail outs, which
Yeah.
was a heavy, heavy thing. Like investors weren't prospected for so long from their rental team because they were worried about selling, obviously, off their rent roll.
Sure.
So coming in as a new sort of agent, if you will, providing value to those investors was so helpful in getting my business started.
Do you still cold call today?
I probably warm call.
Oh, yeah,
but
I
the
wouldn't
team do.
assume
Yeah.
you did when you've got a team that big, but your team would?
100%.
So
That
what's
is
the
their job.
difference in how you prospect now with a team? I looked at your profile. You got 7 people,
just
including
recently.
yourself.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That must be hard to manage. I've got questions about that. What's the difference in how you prospected 4 years ago to how you prospect today?
Nothing. Nothing has ever changed. Just the volume.
The volume
Literally
and
the
who's
volume.
doing each role.
100%.
So you're still doing the just listed, still doing
Our
the just.
business is revolving around Magic 50s or Magic 100s, whatever you want to call
Can
it.
you
Like,
explain that?
so if something comes on the market, whether it's in Marsden, whether it's my listing or another agent's, my team, their role is to make sure that everybody around that sale or listing knows about it, whether it's coming from them, like it needs to come from them first.
Yeah.
So they're constantly prospect to be like, hey, did you see that result up the road? Like, rah, rah, just literally the same dialogues that we've had for years and years, but just consistently coming out each and every day.
Yeah. And you're just doing more of it.
100%.
So hear that, team. It doesn't matter if it's your first year and you're trying to get the wheels moving, or if it's your 7th year and you're making $3 million in gross commission, like Rebecca and her team. The activities are just the same. They're just doing more of it. She scaled her business so that instead of it just being Rebecca making those calls, now there's a team of 3, 4, 5 people doing that. The productivity is insane. That's how you get to these levels. If you were to move cities, right? It's hard being in real estate because you're stuck in your area now, aren't you? Right? You're ingrained in there. But if you let's say your partner said, babe, I got a job in Sydney, we're moving there. And you're like, oh my God, you had to move areas and you had to start all over again. What would you do in the first 12 months?
I don't think I would really change all that much other than actually spend more time in ensuring that my social media presence was better. Back then, I feel as though it probably wasn't as important, but now it really, really is. That's like your digital profile, but the activities wouldn't change. I would learn the market as quick as I could to understand what's consistently selling. If there's, I guess, different patches to be aware of. So when you're cold calling, you can have better sort of conversations, but consistency would be everything. Like if you're cold calling, follow up with a thank you letter, like make sure that they constantly are seeing you, letterbox drops consistently. If you can't afford to do it yourself sort of thing. But ultimately the activities, if I was starting again, would be the exact same. It would just be more of it. and on my own this time. So I think real estate is quite simple when you break it down. People just need to be known. People need to be made aware of who you are. And the activities around that are literally cold calls, door knocks, letterbox drops, mail outs, social media.
Hey guys, just quickly, if you're loving this content and you're a real estate agent that's already thinking what it might be like to have your own real estate business and brand, then check out the show notes. There'll be a link to our Plum Partners website where you can leave an inquiry and me or one of my team members will reach out. We help agents to create, run, and grow their own real estate business and brand so they can earn more and set up a better future for themselves. So get keen, get in touch. Now let's get back to the episode. So let's say you have 10 hours in a day. What should a new agent or any agent, how long should they spend on prospecting out of that 10 hours?
100% of those hours that you can actually talk to people. If I had 10 hours in a day, or if I was starting again all over from scratch, my activities wouldn't change. I look at the day and go, what hours can you actually talk to people and that are, within reason, and then break it up within that. So early hours in the morning, later nights were my, time slots to sort of actively work on your behind the scenes type stuff. So your marketing, your social media, all that stuff that you can't physically talk to people within, do that outside of hours. So you are maximizing each and every day for those activities that truly are going to get you face to face or over the phone or whatnot. So my mornings were like early mornings, I'd go and do my own letterbox drops when I started on my own. To break up my morning, I would then run into the office. I wouldn't even go home and get ready per se because I didn't care what I looked like. I knew then I was hitting the phones. So I'd then work throughout the morning. If I hit a dull point and I could notice my energy dropping, I'd then head out, go home, get ready, essentially change, maybe do a few little bits and pieces, but then come back and have another round of either calls or door knocks or driving through the area to actively look for skip bins and general stuff like that. And then the afternoons were spent sort of door knocking and prospecting around that piece. But all of your mail outs, all that sort of social media prospecting activities were done after hours. I'd be doing that 10, 11 o'clock at night.
It's amazing. And guys, it's so clear. This is why Rebecca is so successful. When I talk to most agents, they might do a 2-hour window a day of prospecting and then, wipe their hands and think, whew, I've had a big day. Rebecca, from morning till sundown and even after, is prospecting the entire time. That is how you get ahead. I know you hear it everywhere. You hear it all the time. But we've got Ray White's, one of Ray White's youngest, most successful agent here, telling us what we've all heard before. Just prospect your ass off and you will be successful. If you could give 3 pieces of advice to agents to double their income in the next 12 months, what would it be?
Now, if you were already an established or somewhat established agent, I think the most important piece of activity would possibly be investing in pointer boards. I flood Marsden with it actively, whether I've got an open home there or not, every single Friday night.
Oh, interesting. So the ones you stick in the ground. Right.
Literally doesn't matter if there's not an open home happening or not, but it's market presence. People are driving through going, oh my God, just on every single corner. What on earth?
So you put signs down on corners when there's not even an open home.
It'll direct you somewhere if they all link up. It'll be some open home.
I'm just directing the traffic around the streets. They don't know where they're going.
I do it. And of course, within reason, you've got to pick them up Saturday and whatnot, whatever your council laws are. But I think that to me has been an awesome piece because everyone's far out, you're everywhere. Signboards and pointer boards are an easy free piece of marketing or a VPA piece of marketing that, you can utilize. So that well and truly. Second piece would just be volume again. I think if you're cold calling or door knocking, investing in magnetic business cards, no one wants these paper flimsy things. People don't keep them anymore. So magnetic business cards and thank you cards, literally so simple, but follow it up with every single person, even if they didn't want to hear from you again, being hey, thanks so much for your time. Just here's my details again. It's repetitiveness. They're going to constantly see you. Follow it up with consistent letterbox drops and mail outs. That to me, I will never change. And the third is really just ensuring you actually do have a social media presence that isn't salesy. No one wants to see that you've just listed and just sold 30 houses. They don't care. But ensuring they can actually be relevant to your life. The amount of business I get now through social media, through referrals is huge. I probably get 50 a year through Instagram.
Yeah, wow. That's awesome. What's the best marketing thing outside of the signs, which I think is awesome? What's the best other marketing thing that you've done that you can remember that really works for you?
The best piece of marketing, or at least something that's helped leverage my business, was about 2.5 years ago. I had old buyer data. I was always really, really good to get full names, numbers, emails, or at least, as much as you could at open homes. I looked back through that and went, how can I leverage these old buyers that are probably now sellers or at least not homeowners? I went and got my data cleaned. I don't know if you know about it, but I spent like $5,000 getting it cleaned to have every single person with a last name or email or something that could be matched up with RP data in the relevant suburbs that I wanted. I think I got just over 4,000 clean contacts of new homeowners added into my database. It was then called, pinged, made sure that it was relevant, and then called through. Within 2 weeks, we listed one off of it, paid off that debt. And now we probably have a huge database of just over, I think it was like 6,500 clean homeowner contacts to be able to call through and prospect.
Oh, that's so good.
So
and
if you're
so important if you're doing a lot of cold calls, you've got to have great data.
100%.
Otherwise you sit there.
But they're old buyers that probably people aren't prospecting, or at least you're trying to find who they are through door knocking and all these other activities. But if you've been in the game for more than a year, you've got old buyer data there that's sitting stagnant. Get it cleaned. Rather than doing it yourself and spending hours upon hours, like for a few grand, you then literally have now current homeowners, which in our market are transacting after a year or two now. So it's a really quick turnover.
Yeah, wow. That's really cool. I haven't heard any agents say that. It's a great piece of advice. So I'm sure the audience would love to hear you cold call because, I know you haven't done it for a while, so this is probably putting you on the spot. But you started and built your business on it, and now your team's leveraging what you've taught them. How would your cold call script go if you were to call someone?
More or less, hey, it's Rebecca from Ray White. Please, I'll stop you there. I'm not trying to sell you anything, but just more importantly, wanted to quickly touch base. You might have seen the one up the road that sold from you. I'll be super short, quick. It was a great result. Sold for $800,000. I don't know if you've kept an eye on the market. Have you sort of seen what's been happening lately?
I saw that you had that one on the market. Is it sold already?
Yeah, sold already within a week or two. As I said, not going to sell you anything, but just literally wanted to keep you up to date with what's happening in Marsden. It's shifted a fair bit in the last couple of years. I've noticed you've had your place for a little while now.
That's perfect because you're creating conversation, right?
Yeah.
And not just spurting out facts. We're so good. It sold for this and that's awesome. Would you like an appraisal on yours?
Yeah.
You've got to actually get the conversation going. So you asked two really good questions there. Have you noticed what's going on in the area? That's going to get me talking.
Yeah.
And have you noticed that one on the road that we just sold? That's going to get me talking as well. It's really important to get a result out of a cold call. The best results are going to be if you can get that person to open up. So the fact that you asked questions and you kept it really short and relevant and you had a good icebreaker. I like that icebreaker that you did.
It's literally just, hey, I'm not trying to sell you anything.
Really simple.
I'd love to just find out a little bit more about the market. Marsden for me was easy to leverage back and go, if they know relatively what's been happening in the area, I'm like, did you know the main reason I found Marsden's increasing is the Marsden State High School? And they're like, really? I'm like, yeah, it's now been voted like one of the best state highs. And then that just gets them talking, far out, I didn't expect this. Wow, awesome, didn't know that about my investment. Like 100%. I then come across more knowledgeable regarding the area. Cool, awesome. Well, actually, whilst I've got you on the phone, they're usually asking me, can you give me an update?
Yeah, that's it.
Because you're coming across as the expert.
Yeah, and waiting till the right moment to say, hey, whilst I've got you, would you like an update? Instead of just running straight into it. Hi, it's Rebecca from Ray White. We just sold the one over the road. Would you like to know what yours is worth? Yeah. The result's so much better if you can get them to talk, build a tiny little relationship on the phone, and then, by the way, can I help you? Your results will
And for
triple.
those that are like investors, more often than not, they're like, oh, no, it's all good. I almost don't offer it. It's like, no, I'm going to forward it through to your email. Like, I understand it's investment, so we won't bother the tenants. Can I just confirm this is your best email address to forward that through? You're not even asking if they want it. It's like, we're sending this through to all of them. So assumptive close them to ensure that you've then confirmed their email address, if it's a rental property or not, if they live there. So then in future how to get in front of them best, and then essentially forwarding through even just a desktop appraisal. They're then seeing your name, your email, your face each and every time, and it gives you a reason to why then follow up in a week or two to sort of see how they went, if they expected it to be at that level.
Yeah.
So
awesome. and the more you do it, the more fun it gets, right? Did you find that? Like it's
I'm
scary.
teaching all like my new associates now, and just giving them those little assumptive closes or those little icebreakers, like, and seeing them be like, "Holy crap, it's now working!"
Yeah, it's working.
I'm like, I'm
now.
not getting it, a hang up each and every time. Like it's cool.
Yeah, and so your team, 7 people on the team. There's not many real estate teams that are 7 people big. That sounds challenging. What challenges do you have with that?
Different dynamics of obviously personalities. I'm not really the one to sort of sit there and pat everyone on the back. So that is my challenge, like making sure that everyone feels supported, and ensure that they've got room to grow. So I guess I enjoy it. Like that's part of the business that I really, really like. That's what I love now. It's not so much the real estate piece. It's making sure that my people can grow, because in turn that's going to help myself. But there are challenges around that, and it's constantly – I feel like we make a joke being like, I'm mum.
Yeah.
And like my kids are always hassling me. Like, so it's always like, oh, hey, Beck, can you check this? Oh, hey, Beck, can you do that? And I'm like, I still got my own things to do, but I enjoy that. Like it's
Are there
really.
people older than you on your team?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I won't give ages,
Yeah,
but
that's
my operations manager who just rejoined is of middle age, like, and then the rest of my team are fairly young. They're all probably like mid to late 20s. So my associates and that are all sort of very, very similar.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Do you find it challenging being sort of the leader and being like one of the youngest?
I did at the beginning when I was growing my team. That was really, really challenging because I felt like I was trying to give direction when I was a kid myself and I had no idea what I was doing. Now it's pretty cruisy. I would like to say I'm a pretty laid back boss. Like everyone coming into the team just sort of knows if you hear like there's an expectation, I don't have to repeat it. So like just get it done.
Yeah.
So, but everyone's really like we've hired on energy, and I feel as though I don't have to consistently sit with them to be like, hey, you're not reaching KPIs. They know.
Yeah.
Like they'll be like, hey, Beck, I need to set like aside time to improve. And I'm like, cool, great. You already know. I don't have to tell you.
Well, I'm sure you're leading by example. So your energy and you showing up every day and just working harder than everyone else makes them know that, they've got to push themselves.
Yeah.
So 3 million approximately in GCI. What's the goal? You've leveraged up to 7 now. What's the goal for the Rebecca Cuderman team?
We've just put on 2 new people, so I would hope a team of 7 is going to do more than 3 now.
Yeah.
But money is not necessarily like GCI. Of course, there's a goal there to a degree, but I've sort of put on co-agents, and I want to see the associates push themselves to be transacting 25, 30 on their own, to be moving into that co-agent space. So eventually I have like a mini office within the office.
Sure.
Like I want to be able to grow out my people to be doing more, not just in my core patch, but in surrounding areas. So that to me, I really, really, really want to focus on being able to support them in ensuring that we've got market share everywhere.
Yeah, awesome. We're going to do some scripts and dialogues, and something Rebecca manages to do really well is get owners on the market, even though they don't want to pay for advertising. So it's a good way to, just get them to sign up, right? Get them to sign up, get it on the market, possibly get it sold. But once it's on the market with you, they're now committed to your team. And then if it doesn't sell off market, you then have the chance to push them towards an advertising campaign.
Yep.
Cool. So we're in the listing presentation. We've gone through the CMA, the price. You've talked about where it sits in the market, but I'm kind of like on the edge of what I want to do, right?
It's quite easy for me to turn around it's during the listing pitch that I'll sort of like work out whether or not they're ready to sell. But if I can see that they're hesitant, it's very easy to go, hey, look, I can sort of understand there's quite a bit to invest in if you truly are wanting to get things sold. If you're unsure, there's no harm in just starting in an off-market process. I'm sure we've already heard about it, based on the fact that we've had 5-6 sales in this relevant suburb. Why don't we just leverage those particular buyers that are actually, we know are quality, and just get them through first, just to get a feel. It'll give you an idea of sort of where you sit currently. And then if you don't choose to sell, that's okay. You've not lost anything. It's not like you've gone and spent all this money on marketing, but at least you and I are no longer guessing on what the property's worth, because I understand that's a big challenge in today's market. It's all increased. It's so hard to put a dollar figure on what something's going to sell for. So let's remove us from the equation. Let's bring some quality buyers through that have missed out on recent homes and actually get an understanding of where they see value. And if you choose to sell, fantastic. If not, then at least we've got some quality info to go, hey, do we now want to invest in marketing? Could there be a better price out there? Should it be advertised properly? So it just gives you, I guess, a plan A to work out where to go then from there.
I don't have anything to say. I would literally just sign the paperwork right there. That was good. So how many properties do you get on the market per month? I mean, on the market, like without advertising, per month?
We will sign up majority off market. If I can tell that they're then ready to just they just want to launch, it'll be more or less just hey, we don't want to waste any time if your situation is to get it up sooner rather than later. Over the next week or so, whilst we're booking in photos and all the rest, just know that my team, we've got essentially buyers agents within the team. I come back to the office with a listing saying it's a 4-bed, 2-bath. They've already got relationships with those buyers that have missed out on others. So their job is to literally hit the phones and get them ready to come through.
Yeah.
So if you're comfortable with it, whilst we're getting photos taken, we'll get them through. Otherwise, we'll just ensure that the hype is there. So first weekend, open home day, we've got more people through that open home than others that are out there on the market. So perception is everything. We need to show that it's busier because that's ultimately going to create the demand.
Unreal. I love that. That's such a good script. So Rebecca, over $3 million in GCI, over 180 deals in the past 12 months. What's the secret sauce to your success?
I don't honestly think there's a secret sauce. It's pretty simple. Just talk to more people. The leverage of every single listing and sale is so, so important. Your simple mundane tasks that you might not look at, your auction invitations, you just sold, your Magic 50 texts, all of those activities are so, so important. And I do not let my associates slip on ensuring that those are done on every single listing and sale. Leverage everything you possibly can.
I can't wait to see where you're at in another couple of years. You're going to be a household name in real estate. I really believe that. I think you're really remarkable what you've been able to achieve. There's not many people around Australia that have done what you have done either at all, but especially at your age. So, congratulations. And that was so valuable. And I would love to get you back in a couple of years to see where you're at and share more valuable insights, because I'm sure everyone who listened to this got heaps out of it. Thank you so much for joining us, Rebecca.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
No, awesome. Thanks. Thank you for tuning into the Get Keen podcast. If today's episode inspired you, please show your support with a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And make sure you subscribe on your favorite platform too. Don't stop there. Join our community of forward thinkers by connecting with me on social media at Dan_Lee_Plum. I'm looking forward to exploring more strategies and insights with you on your journey to the top. Until next time, keep getting keen.